essentially, of course, the first benefit is the engagement of a consultant to do a feasibility study. The feasibility study will come out with the quantification of the idea. How is it feasible? Is it doable? And if it is doable, how we are going to do it? A lot of issues and questions will be addressed in that study itself. But going beyond, what essentially we are trying to capture with one sun, one world, and one grid. There are three ideas behind it. A, the sun never sets, which means, if you view from a solar perspective, the day is our strength and the night is our weakness because sun is not there. But that weakness we can convert to an opportunity. When it is night, say at point X, at point Y, it is not night. So can we have an energy link between X and Y? And the second idea, again, if you look at the consumption points or hotspots where actually a lot of energy is consumed, and if you look at even those places, the demand or the supply pattern is always either unimodal or bimodal. It is not uniform throughout the day and night. And if you can identify such places all over the globe, you will find in probability when 50% of the places on the globe have shortage of power in supply, 50% of the places will have surplus of power. And this again, we can view as a strength, then supply is extra. And when there is shortage on those spots, we call it a weakness. So can we convert the weakness into strength? So the second thing comes is times of oversupply or over demand, if we can link them together and have a common platform. And the lesson number 3 that we can take it, look at a world which shares other forms of energy, like whether it is petroleum pipelines or communication cables. We have a world currently which is also sharing a lot of other energy forms or services. So even if we can combine these three things, we're talking about a sort of through a one sun, one world, one grid. Yes, there has to be regulator, and that is when we are saying ISA, the OPEC, future OPEC or solar OPEC, and it needs essentially builds up on these strengths and weaknesses that we have. And that, I understand, is the fundamental thing behind this. Of course, we take the latest smart technologies into account and latest forms of production processes or generation systems. Putting all these things together, I'm very optimistic that the global can have interconnected grids. Well, I see the pandemic has been a serious problem, although it hasn't affected the investment in the solar front that much. But it has affected, policy processes. It has affected the way we, communicate with each other, the way the industries function, the way labor mobility was there, or factors of production. So, but the one sun, one world, one grid is a very long-term process, and I don't think the pandemic will continue that long to affect the participation of the countries, and once the member countries or the participating countries are convinced of the benefits they will derive and the feasibility of the projects, they will automatically come on the same platform that we offer. One hurdle, of course, is to convince everybody after the feasibility report comes that it is feasible, it's desirable, it's doable, and it's beneficial. Now, some people feel that we are talking about like some countries, they come up with energy policies now, and they identify in the country no-grid zones, which essentially means they will manage the entire power system requirement of that region of the country through distributed systems. And the second thing, the groups, some of the groups have been convinced that how do we integrate storage with one sun, one world, one grid? And how do you find out that the transmission cost from point A to point B it will be less than the storage cost itself at point A. And these are economics and these are issues of technology. And I'm sure the feasibility study that we are taking up will address this issue. We are also planning to have a sort of advisory group side by side of different stakeholders who can give some input into the process of consultancy that right now we are finalizing. Well, that is that's a good question, but essentially I feel we need more time to address those issues. We know it's going to be a global project. We know different projects will come into play, and some sort of dollarization or quantification of investment has to be made. And but how do we go about it? Requires a lot of engineering study, technological study, and also it has to be addressed through bringing the political unity of countries, which ISA can actually better place to do that. So if today we ask, is it a project? Yes, it's a good project. It's an investment project. And if we look at the eastern, the eastern world, you will find that some of the countries have taken up some major projects, not linked to all countries, but to some of the countries. And even in India, you find, India, Bangladesh, India, Nepal, they have energy links. And other regions in the world, they have links. If you look at, Northern Africa and the Southern Europe, the way they got, they developed links. So I believe that this particular project, or the project components will require a lot more study by the experts concerned and a lot of political facilitation of or acceptance of the idea that ISA will be better placed to do. In fact, I would like to say that although right now, I'll be restating something that is going to the assembly, but yes, subject to the assembly's approval and guidance, as and when the World Solar Bank comes, you will find that this can be one of the sources of capital or investment for the solar projects that we are talking about, the One Sun, One World, One Grid. Because or the World Solar Bank will be a small one with some $10 billion, but co-financing with other major banks, it will bring in at least $50 billion a year for solar projects. And one of the most bankable projects perhaps will be One Sun, One World, One Grid, or the regional grids that initially will build to interconnect them later. See, that will be a simultaneous process for ISA. Like we need a lot of trust for creating the World Solar Bank also. And when you develop a major project and the beneficiaries of that project or the member countries will implement that project, we have to bring them together in a common platform. We have to have a consultative and inclusive process where they also feel that they are the owners of the project and they are the parties to the process. So that's a challenge, and I'm sure ISA will handle it. But more importantly, it is not that if you actually identify the so-called energy insecurity spots, like countries who are fighting with each other, or in the sense that there is risk of disruption of energy supply, those places are limited, they're finite. And in the political process that ISA will develop, like you look at SAARC countries, they also have floated some sort of energy agreement common to all the countries. At some point, we have Lomé initiative where 5-6 countries in Africa have come together and they would like to develop a common platform, common market, common energy system. So the idea is not really challenging that we can bring together the countries who will be beneficiaries of this or who will be partners in this. But as I told you, the spots where risks are involved, those parties have to have extra consultation with each other and come out with some sort of you can call it a one world, one sun, one grid world treaty. You you need a convention or a treaty or an agreement to tackle not only the technological issues, the investment issues, but also the issues of, as anticipated at some point, there may be flashpoints. So we have to have a legal base for this. And that legal base also will be the responsibility of ISA to develop. And essentially what ISA can perhaps do is something called its ISA Energy Charter. And it specifies, the roles and responsibilities of the parties to it. And that charter, the Assembly passes, and all countries become a party to that. So as ISA at some point will be negotiating the treaty for the World Solar Bank, at some point ISA will also be, issuing its energy charter. And the energy charter, like a, international treaty, will put terms and conditions, the roles and responsibilities of various parties. And that also has to be simultaneously developed. World Solar Technology Summit and its success, yes, it went up very well. It brought out a lot of tangible outcomes for us, including corporate partners, 5 of them from the oil sector who joined us. We launched the Solar Compass 360, a journal that will cover all issues pertaining to solar. That is why we have put 360 degrees all around. And of course, the MOU with MNRE and World Bank about superpower. But going ahead on 14th, 15th, and 16th, our third assembly is scheduled. And given the pandemic, it is going to be virtual. What we are proposing is the first day, of course, with the reinvest, it will be combined, and then we will have the assembly session in the evening, to with the time zones so that maximum countries can participate. And next day we structure to have regional meetings, and this time we'll be having at times which are suitable to our member countries, the regions, which means one will be late evening, one will be late morning, and one will be the midday. And next third day we are proposing to have a corporate partners conclave, or a partners conclave, as well as something we call the host country awards day. Actually, we have the idea that the host country, many member countries are interested to know more about the host country, that is India. It's of course the demand, democracy and the variety of market that it offers. And to this end, we are planning to have an award from each of the provinces in India and each of the union territories, named after one of the big historical personalities of that province, that state. And that day, with the help of Invest India and the World Association of Investment Promotion Agency, who are our partners, we are going to get around 100 investors, before whom we will give an opportunity to these provinces to showcase not only their investment potential in renewable energy, but also how tourism or culture they are trying to solarize, in the sense that how they are using solar energy in their tourist spots, how they are using solar energy in the museums they have. So those things will be highlighted that day. And with that plan, so next 1 month we will dedicate for that. And as usual in the assembly, in the agenda, we have a big action agenda where we'll bring in new corporate partners. We'll bring in partners to make announcements. So I'm not going to list out because that will take away your excitement, but we have a whole lot of actions packed in the action agenda, and that apart, the usual things will come.